Will Hild is executive director at Consumer Research. Woke insurance companies plotting to stop consumers from opposing their wokeness. Hi, Will.
Great to be with you, Fawn.
Good to have you back. They're sneaky little stinkers, aren't they?
Oh, they always are. They always are.
Why are they so hell bent on making us agree with everything? Why?
I think because a lot of corporations during the woke era have abandoned trying to actually make their products and services better, and instead they decided to become political utilities and shove a bunch of woke nonsense down our throats instead of actually improving their business. It's sad, but it's what we're fighting.
Well, and I want to know who they are. I don't care if they're woke as themselves. I could care less. They can do what they want to do, but they shouldn't push it on their consumers.
That's exactly right. And the company that we're focused on right now is called Chubb Insurance. It's probably not a name a lot of people have thought about a lot. A lot of people think of their insurer hopefully very rarely when something unfortunately bad happens. But Chubb is doing a great job trying to shove their wokeness in everybody's face. Their CEO, Evan Greenberg, says...
Please tell me they do weight loss. Please tell me they do weight loss. Please.
Well, there's so many double entendres to go down there. We have to be careful the way we've talked about the place. But
okay.
Their CEO, Evan Greenberg, has said that banning men from going into women's restrooms is "quote unquote" a threat to democracy. That's how fervently this company is weighing in on the bathroom issue. Why an insurer feels the need to opine on whether men with male genitalia should be able to use the women's restroom is beyond me. But that's what they're focusing on, along with pushing, of course, we always see this in any company that's going woke and betraying its customers. There's always a huge push on DEI and focusing on people's race and sex and discriminating against people based on that, and when it comes to hiring and promotion. And it's always, I've seen it 100 times, but it's always startling to me the explicitness with which they talk about what they do. Let me just give you a quote off their website, Measurement and Metrics. This is about their DEI program. We track and report internally on key talent metrics, including diversity data and employee retention. To ensure progress, we hold our leaders and our entire organization accountable. We apply the same rigor to our diversity efforts that exist in other areas of business. Sounds very great. Sounds very serious, like they take themselves very seriously. Except what they're talking about in that situation is discriminating against people based on their race and sex. And they're gonna bring the same rigor for that they bring to ostensibly paying out your claims and taking care of you when there's a wildfire like there was in California, and yet it's just disgusting, and we're calling them out for that.
Okay, and so what do you want to happen to them? Make them stop? What's the end game?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, with all the companies that we name and shame for this kind of behavior, the number one thing is we want to let consumers know where their premiums are going. So take a look at your policies. If you're using Chubb, as a lot of people are or were in California for property insurance, we'd like you to know this is focusing on helping you out in a disaster isn't their main priority. Their main priority is pushing woke nonsense. The other thing is that Chubb is a reinsurer and insurer for a lot of governments, and letting your state and local governments know that you don't want Chubb used as a vendor. A lot of states, we've played a role in this, a lot of states have laws on the books that say if you're discriminating against one of our key industries or you're engaging in DEI, you are not qualified to be a customer of my state. In other words, the state is going to say, listen, we're a customer just like anybody else. We can go with the people who represent our state's values. So let your elected representatives know they should take a look at Chubb and whether Chubb should be getting any state contracts anymore.
So California uses this widely?
Well, they did. That's one of the things when we dug into Chubb, one of the things that's really embarrassing about them is they have a whole bunch of people who after the California wildfires, they are trying to chintz out on paying the full freight. There's a whole bunch of controversy and litigation happening around it. I won't bore everyone with the details, but that is to say you should take a look at that. People should look up Chubb, California wildfires. Take a look at whether that's really a company you can trust when the chips are down, when your house has been burned down or flooded. Is Chubb really who you want to be dealing with?
That's two B's on Chubb. I want to just remind people that we're just drawing attention to what you need to be wary of. We're not telling you what you should or shouldn't do, but we want to make sure you know what's going on.
That's exactly right. And I will name one more aspect of this company. We actually came across it because of a different fight we were in. The Congress was about to pass a bill that would have made it harder for consumers when they've been wronged by a company to sue those companies. It's something called litigation finance. A lot of times when you're up against these companies, it costs millions, if not tens of millions of dollars to sue them all the way to a judgment. And Congress was about to make that more difficult. We couldn't figure out why. Why, with all the other stuff, with immigration, with border security, with the affordability crisis, why was this the thing they were focused on? And when we looked into it, one of the main companies driving this was Chubb Insurance. And I'm going, why is that their main focus? Well, sure enough, one of the things they've been dealing with is insurance around medical issues. And, one of the big litigation finance movements right now is helping people who detransition, sue the medical institutions that abused them when they were a child. And so, again, this in other words, there's always a connectedness between a company's wokeness and its betrayal of its customers. We find that in this litigation finance fight that they engage in. That's how we found them. So just be wary as you see, it all sounds great. We don't want, frivolous lawsuits and that kind of thing, but it's companies like Chubb that are driving that narrative. You want to be able to go into court and sue these companies, and Consumers Research has been trying to defend that right for you over the last 6 months, which is why we came across Chubb and all the myriad of bad things they're doing.
And it just kind of popped out, and you were like, dang. And I've heard of so many people in Alameda and those areas whose insurance companies are like you said, chinsing out, either not covering everything or not covering anything at all, and they're just homeless. I mean, they're having to just wing it, and that's not why we pay for insurance.
That's exactly right. One of the, just to give you a concrete example, one of the controversies right now is there's people whose all the houses around them burned down. Their houses were covered in smoke from all of their neighbors' houses going down. Theirs miraculously stood. But Chubb is trying to just pay them a small pittance to get their home rehabbed when it's covered in toxic smoke. Right? And they're arguing, no, actually, my house needs to be more than just rehab, probably needs to be rebuilt. Yeah. But they're trying to get away. These houses were, a lot of money because of the California real estate prices there. And it's not a small chunk of change they're trying to get out of, reportedly.
Yeah.
And so just to give you an example of what you might be dealing with if you ever have to put in a claim with Chubb, I wouldn't want to trust those people.
Well, that's frightening for me. A friend of mine's house burned down about a year ago, and they are just now getting into their home as it was rebuilt. And you can still kind of smell smoke on their clothes and stuff that they brought back. You can't get rid of that smell. It's forever.
Yeah, it's impossible to get anybody who's had even a small fire within their house understands how difficult it is. Imagine having all of your neighbors' houses burned down and your house covered in that smoke. There's just no recovering that. And it's incredible that they're trying to make arguments that you can just sort of slap a new coat of paint on there and move on.
Yeah, really not cool. Will Hild, Executive Director, Consumers Research. Where do they go to read more? I have 10 seconds.
Absolutely. They can visit us at consumersresearch.org. That's consumersresearch.org.
O-R-G, Will Hild, Executive Director. Thanks, Will.
Thanks for having me on. Great to be with you.
Bye-bye.